Welcome to the first episode of FaBFaM.
So we're here with Jim, Fab community builder, loyal Azalea follower, and owner of the amazing Flesh and Blood singles and playmat website, FaBTCGCards.com. Welcome, Jim.
Hey, thanks a lot, Goblin Reserves. Awesome to be here.
Dude, I am so excited for this little video series. We've decided to call FaBFaM literally this moment. So there's that.
Well played.
The idea of this series is to have a small, concise, but hopefully free-flowing video that you guys enjoy to introduce you guys to members of the community. Jim, why don't you first tell us a little bit about what it's like running a website and a Flesh and Blood store?
Well, I'm in a very unique situation from every other store really at this point because I'm online only. I don't have a brick and mortar store, so I don't have a storefront, etc. I have a normal 9-to-5 job like most people, and so the store is kind of a family-run business after hours. It's been a lot of fun. It's definitely been a way to really kind of connect with the community. It's kind of helped us with another income since my wife's not currently employed, so it really helps with that. And she helps with some of the logistics and packing. My daughter, of course, helps with opening packs, because who doesn't not like opening packs? So it's really kind of been a family thing that we can all do together. So it's been fun that way too. But otherwise, it's been great. And again, I think at this point, I'm one of the last remaining official, I guess, online-only fab retailers through the kind of grandfather permission from LSS to purchase from distribution and resell.
Yeah, I mean, could you think of a better job as a kid than getting to open cards? Like, how great is that? Like, I'm working.
Job.
Yeah.
That is fantastic.
Getting paid to do it, basically.
Yeah, that is fantastic. I could not imagine that. Hopefully one day we'll get big enough that we can do something that we can employ the kids. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, she still prefers Pokemon, but, she'll take any TCG set just so that she's getting the expensive cards.
Right.
So, Jim, can you tell us how your website came to be and how this all started?
Yeah, absolutely. Like most things currently, or many things currently, it was a result of COVID boredom. The kind of the right at the height of the lockdown is really when Fab is really starting to kind of queue up kind of in early to mid 2020. That's when I had started getting into the game, buying my product for myself to kind of look at. But there really wasn't a lot of play yet, at least in my local area. It hadn't kind of gotten to a point to where there was regular armories, et cetera, et cetera. But I really enjoyed the game, and there wasn't a lot of online people that were selling singles in particular. At the time, TCG Player was not selling Flesh and Blood. There wasn't a lot on eBay. There was a few sites selling the sealed product, but nobody selling singles. So that's when I basically contacted LSS and asked, I had found that the domain name FaBTCGCards was available. So I first wrote them and asked, hey, could I have permission to use this name, or is it too close to the official name, et cetera, et cetera. And this is what I'm looking to do. I can't really open a brick and mortar store at this point, but I'd be interested in selling single cards. And they were amazing and responded back and basically, hey, absolutely use the domain. Just put a little disclaimer that it's still there at the bottom of my site that says you're not affiliated with LSS. Right. And we will allow you to have an account with a distributor in the U.S. to buy product as long as you agree to only sell singles, no sealed product. And I said, you know what, that's totally fair. That's awesome. I'd rather open it anyway. So that's basically how it started. I actually had previously started an LLC for some other side business stuff. So I just created a doing business as name for FaBTCG Cards and added that to the LLC. And then I actually started on Square for a free website, just because I didn't know how far it was going to go, how much it would catch on, et cetera. And once I started getting some customers and some orders, I moved over to Shopify, which is much better for managing a large inventory of mini cards.
That is so cool. Like I've heard you tell the story quite a few times, but I never realized like how cool the beginning of this website is. That like you're kind of like a pioneer, and then you're getting product from LSS to actually do, like, that is so cool to like realize that, when you go back in time and you think about how Flesh and Blood basically didn't exist online and you were a part of like bringing that to people. That is so cool. Like no matter how big or little your website gets.
An amazing experience. And there was I like roughly around the same time. Mitch was doing Midtown Merchant, as well as Travis is doing Fab Foundry at the same time as well. They both are. Travis started as online only. Now he has a brick and mortar shop, etc. And Mitch doesn't sell anymore. But the three of us basically kind of helped each other out actually, and starting our sites, learning some of the web interfaces. And kind of how to deal with distributors, because I think pretty much the three of us had not really done that before, or the other two hadn't, and I hadn't, certainly. And also I got tied in pretty early with Jason over at Deck Edge, and I still talk to Jason often. So he helped me as well. I helped him a little bit, and we just have had a continuing relationship through that to help each other out as kind of family ownership type businesses, small businesses, etc.
I mean, how cool is that?
Doing Flesh and Blood.
Yeah, how cool is that even in like that level of Flesh and Blood, FaBFaM, like it's absolutely ridiculous how amazing the community is. Even when you think like, because when we went to that New Jersey event, we learned all about how great this community is, and then it's cool to hear like even the origins of it's like almost like the internet. The origins of Flesh and Blood being online started with a bunch of people having respect for each other and passion for the same game, and like it's just amazing the positivity that Flesh and Blood creates at every level, the community that it just creates. It's just so amazing. I love this game so much.
I think some of it, I mean, not obviously, a lot of that is just the Flesh and Blood game and what it's done for itself. But that COVID time, like people were thirsty for more interaction and relationships, and I think that was just a breeding ground for kind of creating that community. So that helped, I believe. I know because I had a lot of time, like most, I was kind of furloughed here and there and had a lot of time at home to really get the business started and get it running. But then also just a lot of time to reach out to people and make contacts. And early on, there was just really kind of the Flesh and Blood fan page on Facebook.
Wow.
And the main Discord, and that was about it. And so everybody kind of met through there. And then as the community grew, kind of those subgroups of the different geographical communities kind of popped up and stuff.
God, I couldn't imagine like that you're always going to be able to tell that story of how you were like part of the groundwork of something involved with Flesh and Blood. And like that's arguably one of the coolest things ever.
So, Jim, I also noticed that you don't just sell cards on your website. I saw a few things I wanted to pick up the other day.
Absolutely. Shortly after things kind of really started getting popular on the site, I met a local that was playing in my area here in the DC area that we became friends, and he's an artist, a school teacher, Evan. I'm sure you guys have seen him on Twitter. Awesome, amazing dude. And we kind of together had the idea that, these Flesh and Blood Playmats at the time, you're only getting one if you win an armory. Like they were prizes. So they weren't selling them. Not a lot of people nobody else was really making them for the most part. And so we said, well, why don't we make some, because the ones that were the prizes were being sold, but they were being sold for ridiculous amounts of money, like over $100, etc. So we said, hey, what if we kind of basically made our own playmats with some licensed clip art and some edits ourselves, etc., and get them down to like $20. And that was the goal, and we were able to do that. We actually have two versions of our mats, the non-stitched regular mats and then the stitched, and the non-stitched are mostly $20 and the stitched are $25. Funny enough, most people buy the stitched actually. I guess just they tend to last longer, perhaps.
Oh.
I actually prefer the stitched as well. I like them. But we started off with just like clip art, literally, that we were getting that I would pay to license and kind of with a fantasy theme, et cetera, just to kind of theme around classes. We weren't really going to go for individual heroes at first, just kind of themed around a class, et cetera, so it could potentially work for multiple heroes. But the more we got into it, we liked the idea of really kind of going after one hero. I think the Dorinthia mat, which is the one where she's standing in front of the monastery with her back and kind of ready to go in and do battle. That was the first one that we actually went to an artist and said, hey, we have an idea. Here's kind of our idea. We want to put Dorothy in front of the monastery. Here's some reference material. And he sketched it all out and created the mat that way. And then from that point on, we kind of liked that angle and have been hiring various artists to do the playmats. That's how we got into the playmats. And then you probably saw the tokens as well. And that's just recent. It was just another Evan idea, actually. That was all Evan. He said, wait, what about having a specifically like pen and paper artist do some tokens that we could use as either promotional items or just sell on the site?
That's so
and
cool.
I really like how that turned out. Like just the pen and paper drawings of kind of the FaBTCGCards, a skeleton, and the whatever theme kind of being added into the tokens and printed that way. So that's where those came from. They were just for fun, really, but they seemed to really have caught on. And so I handed out quite a few at a couple of the callings, and then we've had quite a few orders for them on the site. And now we have two new ones coming. Actually, we're doing an Ash and an Aetherwing that Evan spoiled on Twitter recently.
That's so cool. Yeah, you've inspired me. I've actually reached out to the artist that did our playmat to see if they would do tokens for us, because they're just like, I can just think of so many fun little goblins. I've thought of different, like, the two ideas I had was, one is they're all superhero related, or number two, they're just funny. And so like one of the ones I thought of was Frostbite, and it's literally just like a frozen goblin. Like, that's just hilarious. Like, goblins in compromising positions is hilarious. You have a lot of
material there with goblins that you can, same with the skeleton thing.
Yeah,
you've got a lot of space there to play with to create things like that.
Yeah, because Aether Gobbling was another one that I thought of. So just like a raised little goblin thing, but like, yeah.
And you got to have one just blowing up for some reason. I'm not sure which token it could be, but there has to be one of him blowing
seismic surge,
blowing himself up or whatever.
It could be seismic surge. He could be riding a rocket into the ground.
Absolutely. Speaking
of those tokens, Jim has agreed to give away a set to you guys. So all you got to do is comment down below. Jim, give them some criteria. What do they need to comment down below to win one of those sets of tokens?
How about what other tokens would you like to see be customized? Is there anything we haven't done that you'd like to see, or any ideas for future tokens, etc.?
Sweet, yeah, I like it. So if you guys want to win a set of tokens, make sure you comment down below. What other types of tokens would you like to see from FaBTCGCards?
And then when
are we non-tokens even? Like, what cards would you like to see redone?
Cool. Yeah. Sweet. Yeah. What were you saying?
But then we got to know, when are we going to pick the winner?
1 week from the launch of this video, you guys will need to head on over to FaBTCGCards on Twitter, and he will announce the winner there.
Get creative, guys and gals.
All right, so Jim, Hank tells me there's an awesome story behind building a community in the Flesh and Blood community. So can you tell me a little bit more, because I'm not letting him spoil it for me?
Yeah, it definitely was an adventure, and again, really a big product of having more time off during COVID. So mostly what it was just using social media to really try to find people in the community and connect people. Once we did get a store that was officially supporting Fab and holding an armory event, I gravitated to it. I went every time that they did an event. I tried to advertise it on Facebook. I ended up helping run a Discord that we started pretty early to get people in the community in a DC area Discord channel. Eventually, we actually stood up FaBTCGDC.com, which is a website that basically has all the local stores that you can play in, as well as a Google Calendar where we try to keep updated all the local events at all the stores, so you can see it all on one calendar. That's know what store's doing what when. And then the Facebook group, obviously, we have a DC area Facebook group that I started, that retailers in the area can come in, players can go in to meet other players and to have ad hoc games as well as the official games, etc. And then just the other thing that I think really helped and really worked was I took a lot of the bulk from my store, and all of the regulars would help build welcome decks. We used Joey's from Decks and Drafts kind of guide to learn to plays, and we hosted those learn to plays and built all those decks to give out to people, and they went quick, and they we were constantly giving them all out, and it brought a lot of people in. These days, I don't do as much just because I'm back to work full time, and really the community kind of is running now. I ended up early on applying to be a judge just so that we could have a judge in the area, and now we have a handful of fantastic judges. We have a level 2 judge in the area who's now my mentor, basically. Shout out to Nick. And I serve when I can in that capacity now because I don't have the time to be a very competitive player. That's why, the Azalea Cult and why I'm obsessed with Azalea. I'll never be good enough to, even if I wasn't playing Azalea, to get up at the top anyway. However, I can go and help judge at some of those more competitive events and still get to hang out with the guys that, kind of started the community with and new players alike and be a part of that, even though I'm not actually playing in it. So that was another way to dive in there. So it's not any one thing. It's just the combination of kind of all those efforts that really got our community here in DC going. I think I actually did a YouTube video, if I remember, a year or so ago about all of that, like I did specifically, like how to start a Facebook group, a Discord channel, a website, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Where's that at? Where can they find that?
I actually have a YouTube channel under FaBTCGCards is the YouTube tag. And it hasn't been updated terribly recently, but it's got some videos I started it as just box openings like in 2020. And did some box openings, experimented with some things, and then did a few videos about community, did some stuff along with some of my other I got, as you guys know very well, also Red Zone Rogue and DM Armada, became friends with them pretty early on as well, and we did some things together early on.
Right.
Otherwise, I have the video, the last video actually, I think that's on there. It's the one that someone else recorded of me interacting with James White in New Jersey when he signed that
was so
one-of-a-kind playmat that I had gotten. That's an amazing video. If you haven't seen it, definitely go watch it.
Yeah, it's definitely a good one.
And that's probably the last thing I have had on there. I just I haven't had the time lately. So I do... as you know, the Azalea Cult, I co-host with Az on his channel. So that's about all the time I have right now for YouTube shenanigans. And so we do that about every other week just because we're both so busy we can't seem to crank out an episode more often than that.
Sweet. Yeah, so just so you guys are aware, we may forget to shout it out, but everything that we talk about, we will try and link in the comments below. So we'll have Jim's Twitter where you guys can... you'll hear the announcement for the winner of the tokens. We'll link Az from Go Again Gaming, where the Azalea Cult's held, and then all of Jim's other information, obviously. So all that stuff will be linked below. So, that's kind of just like a brief overview of Jim as the, behind the scenes fab master of being in at the ground level and, building a community, building a website, just like...
being in the right place at the right time, basically.
Yeah, but you know what? You're there and you're now a pillar of the community and everybody knows you, loves you. And so now that they know what, they've probably already known, why don't we learn a little bit more about you?
I had no idea who I was talking to when I first met him. I've known him this long now. I still had no idea about him.
I know. Well, yeah, but the thing is like, the only reason I know anything about him, it's funny, like, crazy? Well, no, our origin story is actually, and this is really cool, to tell you the truth, everybody that was involved in this.
Orlando, right?
Yeah, everybody that was involved in this is actually pretty cool because I knew of Jim from his interview with Red Zone Rogue and DM Armada, and this is where I learned about him building a community and his website and stuff like that. Well, I'm sitting in Orlando, and I didn't know who he was at the time, but I was playing Pheno Black, who happened to win, I don't remember what he won.
Don't look at me.
But he won something.
The callings.
He won a calling.
I forget which one. Yeah.
With Prism, I believe, right?
Yes.
Pheno Black's asking, he's like, "Hey, is that Prism map for sale?" And Jim's like, "Oh, it's my last one. I'll give you a discount. It'll be the same price as if you were to pick it up." I was like, "Wait a second." I was like, "You're that guy that has the website." Like, I didn't remember his name at all. I felt like a jerk, but I was like, "Oh man, you're the guy from the videos with Red Zone Rogue." And so then we started talking. I think both DM Armada and Red Zone Rogue showed up, and I got you all to sign a card No, it was a sleeve. It was a Red Zone Rogue sleeve, and so I've got a
I think so.
Red Zone Rogue sleeve with the Ramada, Jim FaBTCGCards, and Red Zone Rogue. They all signed a sleeve, and then as a joke, I put it in a the Runaways. I think is what it was, the foot equipment that Red Zone Rogue called Bon Jovi. So I've got those sitting in that sleeve, and it looks like they signed it, so it's pretty cool.
So, Jim, before your Flesh and Blood journey began, what other games did you play, if any?
I actually started early on in card games with Magic in the 90s.
Oh.
Mid-90s. I was in high school at the time, and I played a little bit of it then. When I went off to college, though, nobody was playing it at my, actually, Texas A&M.
Go Aggies.
And I just didn't. I dropped it really, and I didn't play it much. And matter of fact, nobody. This was kind of the boom of the computer game and the video game era. So I jumped right into that head first, and so I kind of became exclusively a PC and console gamer, and did that for a long time.
Wow.
With just the occasional board game or tabletop game. It was actually, as Fab was coming out, that I just kind of had a resurgence and wanted to get more into tabletop gaming. I had some friends at work that actually had started doing some tabletop gaming, and I dabbled in, just regular board games and D&D again after a while. And after doing that, it just got me. I want to play with people instead of. Not that you're not online, but face to face in the flesh and blood.
Did everything you do just happen to be at the perfect timing?
Right?
I want to get into games that are in the flesh and blood, and here's this game called Flesh and Blood.
I was going to get back in Magic at first.
So
I started looking into that, and it was a very, very different game when I looked into it in late 2019, early 2020. Than when I had left it, and with sets coming out all the time, and just I was like, there's no way I can jump into this again after being gone for 20 years. So but in that search I came across Rudy's video of Flesh and Blood, his first one that he did, and he described it as something like Magic meets Diablo or something. And PC gamer, I loved Diablo, and one of my favorite games, and so I was like, just from that I was like, I got to check it out. And so I also liked that it had just started. And I said, well, awesome, I can get in on the ground floor here, because only Welcome to Wraith was out when I started.
Oh, cool, sweet.
And so I started with that set and playing with that. And then I had already started this website when Arcane Rising came out.
Okay.
And it just went from there. But yeah, primarily a PC. I got... to my, detriment in college a bit, and for many, many years, I got into the MMO scene. So I played EverQuest back in the day when that came out. I started with Ultima Online a bit, but then EverQuest was just coming out, and that was the new thing. So I did EverQuest for years. It continued in just a chain of MMOs all the way up through World of Warcraft, essentially, of which I still jump into here and there. But in small doses. So I did a lot of MMOs.
Do you do Classic now, or do you do the main game at this point?
No, Classic. I spent so much time in early WoW. I don't really want to relive that time. Yeah,
that makes sense.
I just and actually I haven't been playing in a while. I did pre-order the new expansion, the Dragon expansion. Everything's dragons right now.
Seems to be a theme.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try that. But I haven't been in it recently.
Cool. Well, you segued yourself into both other questions. So we were going to ask you what got you into Fab, and you covered that perfectly. And then we were going to ask what set you got into Fab, and you answered that perfectly. You were there. So next will be, this is going to be a spicy one.
It's going to
get him in trouble. You think he's going to answer it?
No, I think
I don't think he's going to answer it. I think he's going to dance around it. Let's see. Go ahead, wifey.
All right. Outside of your obvious love, your obvious queen, who's your favorite character, and why?
Oh, and why? She's throwing more in there.
You won't let me answer Azalea. I have to give another answer.
Yes, other than Azalea. We all know we love Azalea, but
we all know
else?
that she is your queen, and we know that that's just your go-to.
All right. If that's understood, The only other hero I've really had any time with and some success with that I would have to call my distant second is Dash.
Oh, I love Dash.
I heard the D and I thought we were going to go Dory. He went Dash.
He went straight to Dash. That's awesome. That is so cool. All right,
there's something about the steampunk theme and then just the aggressive nature of Dash.
Dude, I love her. She reminded me, like, when I first...
And I mean, come on, she's Matrix right above the pit.
I know,
right?
so it's like distant
yin
cousins.
And yang to
they're cousins. Right? It's funny because when I first got into the game, like, I got into it based fully off of art, and I saw Viserai, and I was in love. I was like, oh my god, Viserai. And but when it came to like actual characters, the first one I really connected with was Dash, because I'm like, she's the closest thing to a goblin that you can get, basically.
What?
I'm not sure how you made that connection, other than
what are you talking about?
From
from Goblin. Okay. Yeah, from WoW, like all they do is they mess around with things and tinker, and they've got explosive rocket things, and she's steampunk and has all this cool tech. Yes. 100%.
Only all her stuff works, but yeah, I guess you could.
Does it though? Yeah. We don't know. Maybe it doesn't. They haven't written that backstory yet.
Wins, so perhaps not. But yeah, although you saw her in Singapore win the calling.
I did. That is fantastic. I was so excited for her. Yeah. I was so excited for her. Like, honestly, another thing I loved about Dash, because it was before I knew anything about meta and any of that crap, but from what I knew about Dash was like one of the only characters that you could go from race to control by switching a few cards. And so it gave you that, like, really, like, you could channel into any matchup kind of a thing. And I really love that flexibility of a character not being locked into one gameplay style, although it appears that right now aggro is the way to go.
I don't know anything about Dash.
I mean, we just learned all about Wombat Dash, which is like ultra aggro Dash. So,
where did the Wombat thing come from? Because I've seen it all over Twitter, but I haven't. Is it just in the
Mr.
video?
Armada. Yeah.
Oh, of course it was Armada
on one of his channels. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back.
One of his videos, rather.
Okay, yeah, I'll have to watch that, because I started seeing it blow up all over Twitter, and I'm like, oh god, Steven must have said something again, or made some kind of image or something, because
he was using it during the Singapore coverage that he inflicted.
That's what it is. Yeah.
So we know that you're a judge, but do you actually compete yourself? And if so, like, what would you say your favorite format would be?
I really only compete on my local scene. So I play at the callings and things, but only the side events generally. Mm-hmm. I guess I have played in the actual calling before, but obviously don't get very far. But mostly at the local scene. I still currently prefer Dash, and it's because I'm not a very competitive player, so I can kind of get games done pretty quickly, and also Azalea is a little better in Blitz right now, so it's a little more tolerable to player in Blitz. But as she gets more cards and gets some more mechanics, etc., she probably will become better in Classic Constructed.
It's kind of crazy to think of, right? Because Dash is like one of those characters that was just good enough. Because if you think about it, she's gotten the least love out of any set, right? Because she's the only character that still only has one hero, or only one class that only has one hero. So if you think about the amount of support that every other class has gotten.
There's also some theories that mech is a talent.
I've heard that.
So I guess we'll find that out here, hopefully in the next...
Well, yeah, because you've seen like cards like Blade Runner, which are a warrior card, but they're using mechanologist equipment.
So they're not saying that, they're trying to say that there's a possibility mechanologist isn't a class, but it's...
a talent. Yeah.
Right, not a class, but a talent, rather. Not really a hero, I guess, but a class.
Yeah, so we'll see. Because you see little steampunk things on other cards that aren't related to mechanologists at all. Like the one I mentioned,
including Ranger cards. So.
Oh yeah.
We'll have to see. Who knows?
So thank you, Jim, so much for this video. We couldn't think of a better person to do our first video with. Just a pillar of the community, someone that's really helped us grow in many different ways. And so yeah, if you guys want to catch up with us in person, we will both be at Nats and Worlds. Jim, will you be playing? What will you be doing at Nats and Worlds?
Yeah, I'll be at both as well. And at Nats, I'm going to be playing on the Friday, but on Saturday, Sunday, I'm actually on staff to be judging. So you'll see me in the in the bee suit.
Yes.
And so for Worlds, I'm not going to apply to be on staff. I'm just gonna play. Gonna hang out. I'm actually looking really forward to just socializing with a lot of the community members that are going to be there. A lot of people, especially from our international community, are planning to show up.
Sweet.
So it'll be cool to see everybody in person. Play some casual games because obviously I will not be in the World Championship.
Right.
And just really enjoy being around fellow Fab players.
Sweet. Yeah. Well, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to the channel, but Wifey and I started this channel just kind of like straight up opening boxes, not really being competitive. But we have made it a point because we love this game so much that we want to get better. We want to compete at some point. So eventually we will be building decks and we will be trying to compete in some of these events and see if we can make anything of it. And it'll be cool to kind of watch that journey unfold on Facebook, oh my God, on YouTube. My brain is gone tonight. But yeah, so at Nats and Worlds, we will just be hanging out, talking to people, playing side events.
Side events.
So catch us there.
Side events for the win.
As we close this out, please remind these people where they can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. So pretty much all of my social medias at FaBTCGCards. I'm most active on Twitter for the most part. I do have Instagram as well and a YouTube channel. But you'll usually find me lately, at least, at Twitter. And then I also have the Azalea Cult podcast that I do that Az hosts over at Go Again Gaming. So definitely check out Go Again Gaming, follow Az, and check out our episodes of the Azalea Cult there.
Absolutely, guys. Make sure you follow all the stuff and the things. And until next time.
Peace out, Gop Squad.
You say peace out, Gop Squad.
I thought you guys were going to say peace out.
No,
I didn't mind.
You say the whole thing. You're the man. You're the man. You got this. Now you know what wifey feels like.